Winnipeg has been Canada's crime capital for as long as I can remember. Most crime happens in the city downtown. A lot of the most serious violent crimes going down between gang members, but then there are crimes against complete strangers. Muggings, break-and-enters, car thefts, you name it. And that gives the entire area a bad image. It's part of the reason our city boosters love to talk about downtown revitalization. They want more non-criminals walking around, especially at night. Unfortunately, many downtown stores shut down at 6, even on Saturdays. They don't like the existing clientele either. They were probably thrilled to hear about a report going to the city's Protection and Community Services Committee announcing that violent crime had dropped 14.5% last year compared to the year before. Great news, isn't it? 14.5% drop. Big number. 15 fewer people out of 100 being turned into victims of crime in Winnipeg's downtown. Part of a 3% decrease in violent crime throughout the city. That must mean City Hall is doing something right, doesn't it? They put more cops on the beat in certain so-called hotspots. Great idea. Only one problem. That crime report going to the city only discusses those few hotspots. It leaves the others completely out. So before you cheer Winnipeg City Hall for finally implementing an effective crime-fighting strategy, it's time for some Canadian common sense. Main drag, Portage Avenue. Prime real estate for retail, restaurants, entertainment, venues, corporate headquarters, plus the location of the University of Winnipeg. It's also got a substantial crime rate. So, of course, it was at the top of the list of areas the city could use a few more boots on the ground on. In 2011, it saw 422 violent crimes. In 2012, 361. In 2011, there were 343 violent crimes against strangers. In 2012, there were 270. But let's take a look at the map. It shows the exact swaths of Portage Avenue the city chose to focus on last year. You've got the University District, the Retail District, the Sports and Entertainment District, and the Commercial District. Good way to keep things organized. Only one problem. Outside of this crime report, those districts don't actually exist. When a Winnipegger goes to the MTS Centre to see a hockey game, they don't call the area the Sports and Entertainment District. When a U of W student heads to class, they don't call it the University District. Those areas were created specifically for this document, this report. So that's one thing to remember when you hear about a 14.5% drop in downtown violent crime. This is a map of all of Winnipeg's downtown. As you can see, there's much more to it than just Portage Avenue, which, by the way, is much longer than the area in those made-up districts. One area the report left out, just north of Portage Avenue, is called Central Park. It has one of the highest crime rates among all parts of downtown. They also left out the entire area around the Manitoba Legislature and the area around Shaw Park, where our baseball team, the Goldeyes, play. Winnipeg's police include the entire downtown area in their stats. And their stats differ from the ones the city bureaucrats have told you about. Police data show, well, a rise, a 13.5% rise in crime last year. So even though crime in the made-up, manufactured districts went down, downtown as a whole is no safer. It's a ruse. It's a farce. In fact, since 2011, crime's gotten worse. So why am I downloading all these numbers for you? Because whenever a government on any level, I don't care what part of the country, throws out a percentage designed to make their ideas look better, you need to look behind the numbers. You need to look at what's behind the percentage they're offering you. And the fact is, the city's work is far from done. There are a lot more areas of Winnipeg that need a better police presence. Now, you could argue that they wanted to experiment with just a few areas at first in order to save on resources. That way they would know before they spent too much money if they were going in the wrong direction. But we already know that spending more on beat cops in hotspots is effective. It's worked everywhere. It worked for Rudy Giuliani in New York, sent them to crack down on property crime. It worked for Bill Clinton when he provided $8.8 billion in grants for U.S. states and cities to put a total of 100,000 beat cops on the streets of America. It's a proven strategy. You don't need to experiment to figure it out. Why did it take Winnipeg so long to deploy it? And here's the most important part. By cherry-picking just a few small spots of the city for this report, victims of crime in other areas get short-shrifted. How long will they have to wait until their neighborhoods are selected for inclusion in a so-called anti-crime strategy? Think about that before you start celebrating the city of Winnipeg or any other city that tries to market these kinds of stats. there are always more numbers to look at before you make a final conclusion. And that's Canadian common sense.